Hey, this is Rainy Day Science. Welcome to Rainy Day Science. Here's my umbrella. I can't wait to get outside and use it. But, today is kind of sunny, so we're going to be talking about rain here in my den. But I thought I'd wear my rain jacket, and I thought I'd bring my umbrella because it's really fun to go out and play in the rain. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how rain happens, and what the science behind it, and some science experiments and some activities that you can do indoors and outdoors on a rainy day. So here we go. Put my umbrella back down. So let's get right started. I have a bowl and I'm going to put some water in it and talk about how it rains. So if you notice right here, I have a big bunch of cotton balls, and I'm going to pretend, and whoops, I lost a few into the bowl. Does that look like a cloud to you? I think it kind of does. So let's pretend this is our pretend cloud, and I'm going to put some water on it. So it rains when clouds get heavy with water. So let's see what we got here. My cloud just got heavier and drippier. Can you see that? So when clouds collect enough water that they get so heavy, they start dripping on us and we get rain. So I'm squeezing out a whole bunch of rain right now out of my cloud. So that's just a simple way to explain rain. Clouds get heavy with water, and then the water falls down and it becomes rain. But how did the water get up there to begin with? So let's talk about that. I've got an experiment that you can do at home. So if you saw the promotion for this video, you have gathered a jar, a pan, some ice, and some hot water. So kids, if you need some help getting some hot water from a parent or a guardian or a caregiver, now is the time to get some hot water. We're going to talk about condensation. That's how the water gets up into the clouds. Condensation, the sun comes out and shines on the land, and all the moisture on the land heats up and it begins to rise. And as soon as it gets up into the colder atmosphere, up there where the clouds are, it cools off and starts to form clouds. So I'm going to make some hot water right now, and that's going to make a little noise. And it will only take a second, but you need some hot, steamy water here. There, I've got my little water machine. So what we're going to do is we're going to make rain in a jar. And I've got some ice here. You're going to need ice. And I also brought a little collection jar, and you may not have one of those, but that's okay. That's just a little bit of something that I'm going to show you as soon as we get the rain made. So my water is heating up. Okay, so I finally got some hot, steamy water here. And that's the first step I'm going to do. I'm going to pour it into my jar. And if you need some adults help with this, it's really hot, that might be a good idea. So I put a little bit into the jar. You can see about how much I put in. And then because I want to show you some actual rain, I'm going to put my little salt shaker into the jar. Now you may not have one of those, but that's okay because the important part is the condensation. So now the next thing I'm going to do is put my pan on top because I see some steam rising off my water, and I'm going to get that steam nice and cold by putting some ice in the top of my pan. We're going to make it rain in this jar. There we go. So that steam should start rising to the top, just like when the sun comes out and evaporates all the moisture. And as that moisture rises up into the atmosphere, it condenses into clouds. So there we go. I've got ice in my pan. and I've got steam rising. Okay, so it's been a little while. We've been waiting for the condensation to take effect and for it to actually rain in this jar. And it's a little bit hard to see on camera. So what I'm gonna do is tip my pan towards the camera, and you're gonna see a whole bunch of condensation on the bottom of my pan. Now I actually had to add a little bit more of some hot water to get it really going good. So I think we got it now, but I wanna show you how we've got some condensation on the pan, and it's gonna rain. Now, this is gonna spill, but check it out. Can you see all of that raindrops right there on the bottom of my pan? Whoa, and I could probably go like this and shake some off, but there it is, rain on my pan, raindrops, condensation, and that's what the clouds are. And when the clouds get heavy enough, boom, the rain starts falling to earth. So there's our little rain in a jar, and I hope that it worked a little bit better for you. It took a long time for me, but we got it together, rain in a jar. So that is how we get rain: evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. Okay, so scientists like to measure a lot of things, and what we're going to do next is make a rain gauge together so that you can measure the rain that falls at your house. And what you need, the supplies you need for that are on my tray right here. And I hope you brought with you a 2-liter bottle, a little bit of aquarium gravel, some scissors, a marker, and a ruler. Here's my marker. So we're going to make a rain gauge together. So step number 1, of course, you want to take the label off your bottle because you don't need that. And then we're going to make just a little hole in the bottle, and then we're going to cut around it. So I'm going to stand up so we can do it better. So here's my bottle, and right here at the neck, that's where I'm going to make the first little hole. See how I did that? So that's a big sharp tool, and I have to help you do that step. So then my next step is I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to stick it in the hole that I made, and I'm going to cut the top of the bottle all off. See how I'm doing that? I'm cutting all around the clear stick bottom, all the way back to where I started. Uh-oh, dropped it. So you've got the top cut off, and I'm going to pick up my bottle that I dropped. Okay. There we go. Small workspace. Huh. Here we go. So there it is. The top that I cut off and the base. Okay. So if it's a little bit sharp, you can trim it. Sometimes when you're cutting, you get some jagged edges. So you can trim that. So then the next thing we're going to do is put some aquarium gravel in the bottom of our rain gauge. And that's for 2 reasons. 1, we don't want it to blow away in the wind or fall off the table like it just did now. And another thing is 2-liter bottles have kind of weird, curvy bottoms to them. And so that would affect the measurement of the rain. So we're going to use the gravel to hold the bottle down in the wind. And straighten out those curves so we get a better measurement there. So I'm going to pack it down so it's all even. So now when the rain falls in there, it's going to fall on a flat surface instead of the curvy base of your bottle. Okay, because that would really affect the measurement. So now, measuring. We want to know how many inches of rain that we got. So I'm going to hold my measurer right there. And then I think I'm going to tape it so when I measure it, it won't move. And because it's really hard to hold a ruler and use my marker to mark the measurements at the same time. So I'm going to just tape my ruler right here, just temporarily, and make sure it's lined, the bottom is lined up with where my gravel is. And then I'm going to mark each one of those markings on my ruler. I think I'm just going to do 1/2 inch measurements with my Sharpie marker. Okay, so here we go. There's my 1 inch marker. So if we get 1 inch of rain, there we go, a nice big measurement for 1 inch. Then up here to 2. Wow, that would be a lot of rain. And up here to 3 and 4 and 5. 5 inches of rain. Wow, that would be a flood, right? So then in between each one are the 1/2 inch markers, because sometimes we just get a little bit more. So if it rains and you get 1 inch of rain, the water will come up to the 1 inch, or maybe you'll get 1.5 inches of rain. And can you see my markings on there? Every inch and every 1/2 inch. And so now I don't really need this ruler on there. Or, you know, if you have a ruler that you don't mind using out in the rain, you could actually leave it there like that, and that could be your measurement, and you wouldn't need to mark it on the side with your Sharpie marker. But I need my ruler for a lot of other things, so I'm going to take off my ruler. But if you want your ruler to become part of your rain gauge, you can do that. So now I'm going to put, oops, I moved my gravel. I'm going to put the other numbers on, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There, I marked my numbers. Okay, I'm going to straighten out my gravel again, nice and flat. And then, remember this that you cut off? We need that. I'm going to put it inside the jar, just like that. So that will funnel the rain into the rest of your jar. It will just rain and drip, 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 drip. So you've got a nice funnel. Now I'm going to tape that. And you could use a paper clip, or you can use some duct tape like I have here. And I'm going to tape that in place. In one spot so it'll stay. Actually, if you have a lot of rough edges, you can use the tape to cover those. And also, if you feel like it, if you have a lot of permanent markers, you can decorate your rain gauge with flowers or plants or anything like that. And I'm getting a lot of reflection, but there it is. There's your measurements. There's your little funnel to catch the rain. And there's your gravel to hold it down and make your measurements more accurate. And so there's your homemade rain gauge. Now you can record next time it rains, go out and see your rain gauge and measure and write it down from day to day how much rain you got. Some days it's sunny and you don't get any rain at all, but there it is. Easy to do. Supplies that you have at home. Okay, there is our rain gauge. So that's a good tool that weather people use to see how much rain we get. Now, there's a lot of other things that you can do. So today is sunny, and I'm wearing my silly raincoat, and I have my umbrella. But if it was really raining, there's a bunch of things that you can do outside that's a lot of fun. I mean, just besides walking in the rain and feeling it on your face and those kinds of things, there's some science things that you can do too. And the first one that I'm going to show you is really fun. So I put some things on a tray. Look what I got here. You can go outside and set out containers. I've got a cup, I've got a measuring cup, I've got a pie pan, I've got a little lid, just a clear container, a bowl, and a muffin pan, and you can just find anything in your cupboard, set these out in a rainstorm, and see what fills first. What do you think? Make a prediction. What would get full first? You know, I don't know, I think maybe this one because it's got a really small amount. But you can kind of see, and you could actually even, if you had some more measuring cups, you could pour the rain into one and eventually measure how much rain you got from each one and write it down. That's a great scientific experiment. And, you know, just all you have to do is observe and watch. Watch what happens. All right, so that's one thing that you can do that's kind of sciencey out in the rain. And another thing you can do is get some stuff from your kitchen cupboard. Do you like to make a mess? I know I do. And so what I did was I put some flour in a small pan. I put some oatmeal in a small pan. I put some marshmallows in a small pan, some sugar, some chocolate chips, some rice, and I got some pasta noodles for soup. Oh, yeah, and I didn't have a container, but you could even try peanut butter. So that would be really cool. And so what am I going to do with all this? I'm not going to eat it. I'm going to set it out in the rain and see what happens. What's going to happen if the oatmeal gets wet? What's going to happen if my chocolate chips get wet? What if I had a little bit of peanut butter on a dish? What would happen to that? Think about it. Think what you're going to have happen, or think what might happen, and make a prediction, and then go out and see what happens after the rainstorm, after you set all this stuff out in the rain. Yeah, it's gonna get wet and you won't be able to eat it, but it's kind of fun and interesting, and feel the texture to see what happens when things get wet. So that's kind of a really fun thing. You can make lots of observations and predictions with that. All right, so there's two sciencey kinds of things that you can do. And here's sort of an art kind of thing that you can do. Now I have a cookie sheet, and I took a piece of paper and I colored a rainbow, but you could do any picture that you want. I did a rainbow, and use as many colors of markers as you want. Stick it on your cookie sheet, stick it out in the rain, and see what happens. Now I have a squirt bottle, so you can probably guess what happens, but I thought this would really be fun. Out in the rain, my squirt bottle is the rain, and what is happening to my beautiful rainbow? Let's see, it's starting to drip. It's starting to drip. It's starting to drip. So you can do that with any picture, and it's really interesting to do. You could just make a lot of swirls, use as many colors as you can, and see what you can come up with. It's a whole new artwork. So I'm going to set that aside. And one last thing I wanted to tell you about that might be fun to do out in the rain is, again, raid your kitchen. Go to your kitchen and find some pots and pans. What am I going to do with pots and pans in the rain? I already did my collection to see how much rain they would catch and which one would fill up faster. But this is different. I've got a big pan. I've got a colander. I've got a bread pan, and I've got, like a little cake pan. What's really neat to do is sound. What happens when the rain hits them? What sounds do you hear? It might be really different. So I've got my little fake rain, and let's see if we can hear some sounds. What could you hear with the different containers out in the rain? Okay, especially, and if it's a big downpour, is it going to sound different than a little sprinkle? Let's find out. Here we go. Did you hear that? You may not be able to hear it here on the computer, but I can hear it. And you can try it when it rains next time. Let's try the colander. And did you hear the difference in the sound? That's really a cool thing for you to try when you get outside. Okay, so those are just a few things, art and science, to do outside when it rains. But you can also look for things in nature. Look under the leaves for little critters. All kinds of fun things to do on a rainy day. Try them. And that's all for today. We hope you had a good time.
Well, thank you for joining us. I hope you guys had fun learning about rain, learning about where it comes from, and creating some tools so that you can measure the rain in your area. So I hope that you join us again in a week for First Step Science. We're going to be exploring more of our world and creating and using scientific tools. Also join us on Tuesdays for Get Crafty. We're going to get messy and create some cool stuff together. This is all hands-on. Just like on Thursdays, we're creating stories, we're telling stories together, and we're also doing hands-on activities. Those are all at 11 a.m., and you can find those and register live by going to Great Lakes Kids-News and Events. And if you're interested in supporting programming like this, you can donate to the Children's Museum. Any donation you can give is always appreciated. You can find more information on how to donate, and there's even a link to do so directly right there at greatlakeskids.org/donate. So thanks for joining us. Get out there and explore the world, and we'll look for some rain so you can use your new tools. And until then, we'll say goodbye. Bye.
Bye.